everybody, Ori here from Go Outside and Cook. I'm going to pull out a phenomenal meal tonight. I tell you what, we're going to cook up some juicy ribeye steaks, and I'm going to show you how you can put out a world-class plate, entertain your guests and stuff like that, and they're going to eat like they would if they were in a really good chop house. So that's what we're going to pull off. And what's great about this, it doesn't require the time and the patience and all that stuff of some of my more complex barbecue that I show you guys. So if you want to entertain and really be impressive, this is going to be a great one for you. Pay attention. We're going to do the whole meal, and you don't have to do all this stuff exactly like I do. Everybody's got their preferences, but I'm going to show you how to really pull off a nice steak dinner, and you're going to really shine to your guests, and you're not going to have to put in a lot of work to do it. So let's start with what I'm using for ingredients, okay? Now, what I've got here is I've got some kosher salt. I recommend kosher salt. Black pepper. I have some chopped garlic here. Stick of butter. We've got some brown mushrooms. They're already sliced. And some kind of green vegetable to go along with your beef. So in this case, I'm using broccoli. You can use green beans. You can use whatever you want to steam. But use a fresh vegetable. If you want it to, really, if you want to shine, use fresh vegetable. I've got a can of baked beans here. You can do a baked potato, some kind of starch, always works out real well, but this is how I'm doing it. So that's what we got for sides. Now let's take a look at the meat. Okay, what I got right here is a couple of really nice ribeye steaks. Pretty good fat marbling going through there, and of course you got a lot of fat going on here. You're going to want to have some fat on your steak if you want to really make it nice. You're going to need it inside for the tenderness, and you're also going to need it for the way we're going to treat it on the grill. Outside, I've got my Weber kettle fired up with extra coals in it. Everything's wide open with no lid on it. I want a hot fire for this, so I'll show you how we prep these steaks. Pretty simple. That's one nice thing about this, is it's really not complex. So we're just going to give it a nice coating of black pepper here. Again, be liberal with the spices, especially when you're open grilling like this. Black pepper, kosher salt. We want to have a nice crust on these things. And you'll do both sides the same way. I put it on there like that. I just give it a little pat. And we'll flip these over to the other side. Okay, so here's what's happening on the stove top here. I got a small pot with some hot water in there, and here I've got a bigger pot, and I just kind of burnt my finger. And we're steaming. We have a steamer here, and then right here I've got a skillet, and those are the three things we're using on the stove top. Along with, I've got this little metal bowl I'm using, and if you don't have something like this, you can improvise. So we've got that. That's what's on the stovetop. I'll show you how we're going to do all that. But first we're going to get back to the steaks. So getting back to these beautiful ribeyes, we'll talk about it just a little bit. I promise I won't bore you. Now, I told you wanted to have some fat on there. These are bone-in, which is really nice, and some nice marbling in the meat. Now here's the deal. Do not overthink it, okay? You don't have to be nice to these steaks. In fact, if you're brutal with them, they're going to be a whole lot better. I've got extra charcoal heating up in my kettle outside. You can use any kind of open grill for this, ground campfire, whatever. Even if you're searing in a pan, if you're going to do a pan sear or cast iron, really the same rules apply. It cannot be too hot. You want it hot, hot. You want to murder these things when they go on there. That's the cool thing about it. You don't have to worry about ruining something in this stage of cooking a steak. The part you got to worry about is being distracted and having other things going on. Now we talked a little bit about the sides. Be organized when you're setting up something like this. Have all your stuff ready the same way I did, okay? I've got my pots already heated, my water and everything's already heated. So I'm going to get my sides done when these are in rest, okay? It's going to be all about the steaks until then. So we're going to go out there, we're going to get on this pit, and we're just going to murder these things. We're just going to really just give it to them, okay? So let's go out there and let's get this going. Now you can see I'm getting a little more heat on the steak on the right. This is where you don't want to be running back and forth and messing around with your sides and stuff like that. You want to be very well prepared to pay attention strictly to the steaks when you're cooking these things. There's going to be a good resting and hold period afterwards. You're going to have plenty of time. This allows us to move these things around as needed, so we don't have one overcooking over the other. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is perfect. When you have a super hot fire and you're searing a steak like this, of course the fear is always, I'm going to overcook it. Well, you're not going to. It's those lower heat fires is where that happens. If you got a good hot fire like this, you're going to sear this thing. It's going to get blackened on the outside, and it's still going to have a cold red center. Let's see what we got. Oh, that's beautiful. We'll give that a flip. This one should be pretty close. I'm going to rotate it a little bit so I can get a little bit more. Nice. That's what we're looking for right there. Beautiful. That guy's ready to come off. And so is that one. So in this case, we're talking about less than 5 minutes to get those things charred the way we want them. Got a good crust on the steaks. Still not cooked in the center. That's right where we want them. This is what we call marking the steaks, okay? So these steaks are marked, and we're gonna move forward with our meal. So we'll go back inside. Let me show you what else we got going on. In this small pan of water here, what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna float this metal bowl in there, this little metal bowl. And I'm gonna take a half of that stick of butter that I showed you earlier. And that's going to go in there. Just like that. And we're going to get that melted down, heat it up. The bowl in the water is to protect what's going to be in that bowl. We don't want to fry with this butter, okay? We want it melted. We're going to put some of that minced garlic in there in just a little bit, okay? So I'm going to kick the heat up on that steamer a little bit. I'm going to want this broccoli to sweat in there. And once it does, we'll go ahead and we'll just sprinkle a little bit of salt in it, and that's all it's really going to need, okay? So that's our broccoli. I told you we already had the beans in the oven. metal bowl. We're going to bring in some of that minced garlic. Mix it in there with that butter. This is going to help to cook and soften that garlic, and it's going to infuse that butter with all that great garlic flavor. And then we're going to go ahead and put a pinch of salt in there, because I use unsalted butter. I don't like to buy salted, because I want to have control over the amount of salt in my food. So a little bit more salt, just like that. So, and you know, garlic burns really easy. If I had this butter just sitting directly in a pan and I put that garlic in there, it would just go black, it would be burnt. This is going to allow it to soften and cook inside of that butter, and it's going to allow it to infuse that butter. So we got that going. We're going to just let that run for a little while. Broccoli's looking good. Got good steam up in there, so we know the salt's going to stick. Let's go ahead and throw a little kosher salt up on top of that. There we go. And we'll let it get back to work. I'm going to bring the heat down to low on that steamer now. And back to the mushrooms. Alright, them mushrooms are looking good. We got that moisture coming out I was talking about. So we'll just toss them a little bit. We want them to keep cooking down. I'm going to add a little black pepper to them. A little more salt. Perfect. Really important not to get too much heat on those mushrooms. Like I said, you don't want them just searing. You want to get that moisture to kind of bleed out a little bit, soften them up. So far, we're in great shape. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to kick the heat up just a little bit to about a medium high on those mushrooms, and I didn't show this in the ingredient list in the beginning of the video like I should have, but there was something I missed, but that's going to be some Worcestershire sauce, okay? So we're going to splash, I'm going to say about 5 splashes of that, get that moved around in there and mixed up. That's going to give these a nice steaky, saucy flavor and some beautiful color. Oh yeah, look at that. Come on. Yeah, and I'm going to cut the heat on those, let them rest, and I'm just going to throw a lid over it. Those are good to go. That's our mushrooms. Alright, so we got all those sides kind of set up. We got the baked beans in the oven, and they're pretty much done, and they're in rest right now. The broccoli is almost there. We got our mushrooms done, and we got the garlic butter ready to go outside. We got our steaks. I did not go ahead and put them into that 120-degree holding oven because I spoke a little bit too soon. We marked the steaks, we held the steaks, and now they're going to go back out to the pit, and that's where we're going to finish the cook on this, okay? We'll let the coals kind of cool down a little bit. We're going to use a lid for this next step, okay? So let's grab those, let's get out there, and I'll show you how that's done. All right, back here at the pit with our beautifully marked but not yet done ribeye steaks. So we're going to go ahead and put these back on, and we're going to use the cool side of the pit where I have the fewest amount of coals. Beautiful. Then, now keeping in mind, like I said before, these steaks came off, they still had a cold red center. we're going to take our garlic butter with garlic pieces and all. We're just going to spread that all over the top of the steak. Nice. You see that flare up going down there? That's that butter dripping down. Be careful of that. Be ready to throw your lid on in a hurry if you have to, because now we're not in the searing stage anymore. There we go. Get those dudes on there. That garlic up there. And we're going to go ahead and just throw that lid on. And we're going to cook these. We're going to cook these with the lid on. We'll check them here and there. If you have a probe, you can probe those things. You want to pull them off when you're seeing about 130 degrees, okay? That's going to give you a nice medium to medium rare steak. You want it a little more on the rare side, pull it off at 125. And then be prepared to rest it after that as well. But we'll go ahead and get these finished up, and we'll take them inside and put them on a plate, and I'll show you what we got. Alright, let's get this stuff on the plate. That's what I'm talking about right there, buddy. Do a dry run of that. Nail the process. Get some guests over, and I guarantee you, you'll be the star of the show. They won't stop talking about it. Then you know what it feels like to be me. Excuse me while I'm still, this is good stuff. I'm just ready to get it over so I can finish this. Don't forget to check out our Facebook. There's a link to it up in the corner of our page there. Click on that, follow us, and don't forget to subscribe.